Hey guys, what's up? So I welcome you to this new course where I'll be discussing ethics, integrity and aptitude, GS paper 4, and we'll be discussing a lot of model answers which obviously in the nick of the time you'll not be able to think of all the points, but if you think some of them then you will be able to answer them a lot. So we'll discuss model answer for UPSC CSE mains GS paper 4 2017 paper which just happened 1 month ago, and we'll discuss question number 1 to 3 in this. Question number 1. Conflict of interest in the public sectors arises when official duty, public interest, personal interest are taking priority one above the other. So how this conflict in administration can be solved? Describe with an example. So basically, let's say you have an official duty of something else, but public interest is saying something else, and then you also have your personal interest, you have your family, you want your free time, you want to spend your time with children, wife, etc. So there are basically three interests here. Okay, so or usually official duty are in line with public interest, but sometimes they can go opposite to each other also. Okay, so a conflict of interest involves choosing between competing loyalties which may corrupt our decision making. So this is basically how you can start. And working in public sector means doing what is good for the people, and this may sometimes obviously come in the way of our own selfish interest. For example, receiving order of slum demolition. Official duty is follow the orders of superior. Public interest is here many slum dwellers will become homeless. Personal interest is fear of transfer after pressure of local politicians. So basically there are three competing priorities right now. So like in conducting elections in a Naxal prone area, for example, official duty is obviously conduct election irrespective of any citizen votes or not. But public interest is basically, if you've seen the movie Newton, like basically you go beyond your official duty. Official duty is just that you sit there in your chamber and you make sure that whoever wants to vote they get to vote, and if they are not coming out because of any reason whatsoever, then it is not your official duty to bring all of them to the polling booth and make sure they vote. But it is in the public interest that you do some campaigning, you encourage the citizens to come out of their house, you make sure that they are feeling safe, you make sure that they feel secure, you make sure that they don't get any backlash, you make sure that they don't get any repercussion, and you maximize the percentage of the voters who turn out for voting. Personal interest is obviously that you should not go out in the forest, you should stay in the headquarters because there can be attack on your life, also you can be shot down. So in this case you have to adhere to values such as courage of conviction, democratic ideals, what is required. So you have to go beyond the call of official duty. Obviously you are doing your official duty, you are not going against it, but you go beyond official duty and you go against your personal interest. And despite the fear of attack on your life, you might think that your children will become orphan, but then you are a public servant and then you have to think beyond your family. Then point 3 is recruitment of candidates when one of the candidate is a relative. Okay, official duty is just to conduct recruitment. Okay, and public interest is basically you should go out of your way to not select a relative because it may seem like you are doing some injustice. So definitely public interest will warrant that you should not deal with your relatives. Then giving equal opportunity to all without bias, without favoritism, etc. And personal interest is obviously if he or she is your relative, then it makes much more sense to give job to them. Now in this case the officer can remove himself from the recruitment panel and say that since there is a conflict of interest, I would rather be not involved. Then you have general strategies to resolve conflict of interest. For example, if you disclose your interest in the situation, it can enhance your credibility, it can enhance your integrity, transparency. And in India, like if you are a legislator or a judge, then you can disclose the conflict of interest and a register of interest is maintained here so that you can recuse yourself from hearing the case. If you are a judge, let's say your own son is there, so obviously you will not hear the case, right? It does not make any sense. Then restricting the access of the person to relevant information that is sensitive or confidential. Obviously do not go about and give the information to everyone. Then appointing an independent third party or extra person to the panel to oversee the integrity of the process, just to make sure that justice is not only done but it seems to be done. So you should not be just corruptionless, you should also seem that you are corruptionless. Then removing yourself from the responsibility or the duties to which the conflict relates, and at any time if you have any doubt, just go through whatever you have read in constitution. So adhere to the constitutional values, public service values, and civil service codes of conduct rules in the event of dilemma. Okay. Question number 2. Examine the relevance of the following in the context of civil service: transparency, accountability, fairness and justice, courage of conviction, spirit of service. So let us talk about transparency. So bureaucracy is riddled with the colonial mentality of secrecy and not involving citizen in the administration. This is there. Okay, this is not only for India, this is for US, Western Europe, everywhere. They don't like transparency. Okay. So transparency in operations and decision making helps establish faith of the citizens in the government, and citizens think that the government is for them, and citizens become aware of what, how and why the decisions are made. And this obviously helps to curb nepotism. Nepotism means bhai bhatijawad, corruption and bureaucratic red tapeism. Now civil servants must strive for proactive disclosure of information to win the trust of the citizens, erase suspicion, etc. Then you have accountability. Accountability means if you have done something, then you should be accountable for it. If you have taken a wrong decision which led to, let's say, thousands of crores of loss, then you should be accountable for that. So answerability of one's own decision and actions. Since we collect taxes and like administrators use public funds, they become accountable to the people for their activities. Now they are accountable not only for the proper use of the funds, but also whether the funds are performing or not. Let's say I got the funds, I made the hospital, but now no doctor is coming up. That is not there. So you have to be accountable for everything. A government which is not accountable to its people, it's anti-democratic and turns into a dictatorship. And social audits and outcome budgeting are a great way to bring in accountability in the system. Then you have fairness and justice. So Article 14 it is a constitutional obligation on a civil service. So you have to just have a just and fair administration, because we are full of like millions of poor, disadvantaged sections such as SC, ST, disabled, old, female, children. So in case if that is not just and fair, then it will not be able to do the justice. Okay. Then you have to have courage of conviction. For example, like you have insurmountable pressure. People like Durga Shakti Nagpal, Ashok Khimka, they have been transferred so many times. But like you need to be having conviction. For example, IAS officer Armstrong Palmer, sir, they lacked funds to build the roads, but he successfully did so by involving citizens in that activity. Then there is a spirit of service, like you should like avoid high-handedness, arrogance, apathy towards citizen. They are the servants, not the masters. And for example, DM of Madurai recently opened a FB page to use social media to resolve grievances of the public on day-to-day basis. And basically this shows the resolve to serve the public by keeping them at the pedestal and not the other way around. Question number 3. Young people with ethical conduct are not willing to come forward to join active politics. Suggest ways to motivate them. So right now we are going at demographic bulge, and this is the right time to train our youth to lead our country. Unfortunately, our politicians are very old. So high standard of ethical conduct, it was there during freedom struggle, but now we have lost it. And today young people are unwilling to join politics because they see it as a dirty profession full of criminals, liars, sycophants. Now there is a lot of criminalization of politics, politicization of crime, and that is how it goes. Money and muscle power. So people are corrupt. Their fear of political activities is there. Dynasties are being portrayed as prerequisite to enter and survive in politics, rather than ethical behavior, honesty, sense of service. So some votes here includes like create awareness about electoral reforms, about election commission, like VVPAT, electoral bonds, NOTA. Then youth parliament and policy think tanks must be encouraged basically. Then internship opportunities should be given in political parties and government departments. Then invoke a sense of patriotism, like Subhash Chandra Bose, Bhagat Singh, Nehru. They were all very young when they started it. Encourage internal party democracy, so end the dynastic politics, let the talent rise up. Encourage student unions and election on campuses to give them a taste of politics, inculcate organizational skills. And then media involvement, highlighting young representatives as hero and their work. So thank you for watching this lesson. Hey guys, what's up? So let us discuss the model answers for UPSC Civil Service Exam Mains GS Paper 4 Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude. This is of 2017 and these are question number 4 to 5. Question number 4A says that one of the tests of integrity is complete refusal to be compromised. Now explain with reference to real life example. Integrity basically means what you think, what you do, what you speak, all of them are in sync and there is no basically distinction in them. So it means being consistent in actions, values, methods, principles, thoughts, actions. And it is a strict adherence to a moral code even when we face a very, very challenging situation that requires us to take a stand. Now, this conduct has to be free from hypocrisy and deception, and the actions must conform with the stated values. So, these parts you will need to understand properly. So, our inner sense of wholeness, which is derived from honesty and consistent unrighteousness in the character, is basically integrity. Now, it is the soundness of moral principles as well as internal system of principles that actually guide our behavior, determine the degree of integrity of individual. Now, it can vary from person to person. You are 90% integral, but usually it is either 1 or 0. It is just like binary digits. In short, it can be summarized as what I profess is what I practice. So, what I say, what I think, what I practice is same. One of the tests of integrity is can be said as complete refusal to be compromised, because people with integrity, they are guided by a set of core principles, now which empowers them to behave consistently to achieve high standard. Now let us say if the individual is compromised on his or her integrity, then she will fail the test of bedrock of core principles and value. So let's say in everyday life there comes a situation when the shopkeeper gives us extra money by mistake. Many of us tempted by this, some of us keep it, some of us return it back. Okay, so whether you keep it or return it to the rightful owner, it is the test of your integrity. Second is not reporting a crime. So lack of intellectual integrity in daily life out of some fear. So that can also be there. Then Article 14, test of integrity in civil servant, like upholding equality before law, equal protection of law in civil services. Many people are not able to do it. Lal Bahadur Shastri was once granted permission to spend 15 days with his sick daughter, but sadly she died the day he reached home, and he performed the last rites and returned to prison even though he could have stayed for duration of the parole. So basically, even in such a difficult situation when most 99.9% of us would have stayed for 14 days, he still did not compromise with his integrity. Now, as an administrator, we face the challenge of dealing with unreasonable requests of powerful, influential people. And during such situation, we must have the courage to stand by our values, even at personal cost. For example, IAS officer Ashok Khemka being transferred more than 50 plus times is a glaring example of this. Now, we must not put ourselves in a position of obligation by accepting excessive favors, and we must completely refuse to compromise on public service values. And only an administrator having integrity basically can establish faith of the people in the government. Question 4b, corporate social responsibility makes company more profitable and sustainable. Analyze. CSR is basically where a company takes responsibility for its environmental and social impact. Now it works as a self-regulatory mechanism because companies nowadays are involved in wide variety of community development, including health, education, skill training, entrepreneurship, livelihood, women empowerment, strengthening services for the differently abled. And this is according to the CSR Act, Companies Act of 2013. Now it is mandatory if you have a profit above a certain level, a certain percentage has to be expended on this. So employees basically get a chance to volunteer for social service. This enhances job satisfaction, wholesome development of employee, which improves productivity, reduces labor turnover, and it also improves organizational loyalty as employees take pride in working for such companies. It helps the company in carbon budgeting by adopting environmental friendly practices, and this reduces the environmental tax it has to pay and also attract investment in green bonds. It also creates a positive business reputation compared to other peers in the market, and it helps the company to earn publicity and goodwill. It helps to maintain good relations with the government, and it will help you to get tax exemptions, edge over peers in bidding, and the company registers, increases sales, customer loyalty usually. And companies like Infosys, Tata, Wipro already have undertaken CSR activities and seen their brand value growing. And CSR has been basically made mandatory under the Companies Act of 2013. However, companies must strive towards voluntary CSR activities rather than thinking of it as just a mere compulsion and window dressing. Question number 5a, great ambition is the passion of a great character. Those endowed with it may perform very good or very bad acts. Now all depends on the principles which direct them. This was said by Napoleon Bonaparte. So stating examples, mention the rulers who have harmed the society and country, who worked for the development of society and country. So obviously if you have huge ambitions, then you can go in either direction, right? You can become Hitler, you can become Mahatma Gandhi, you can become Albert Einstein, and you can become a terrorist also. So men of great ambition, they are eager to bring changes in the society, but it is also important what means they take as well as just the end. Only then ambition will yield sustainable and positive results. So rulers who have harmed the society, obviously Adolf Hitler is number one. So he has great ambition to avenge the humiliation faced by Germany at the hands of Allied power. However, this led to the Second World War and subsequent loss of life of millions of people also. Then you have Saddam Hussein, you know about him. Then you have Muammar Gaddafi. I can take infinite examples. So he also had great ambition for power. In this process, he turned to become a dictator, amassed national wealth, deprived the citizens of fundamental rights, and eventually he was executed by US. Now, rulers who have worked for the development of society includes Ashoka. Like after Kaling War, he adopted Buddhism, persuaded others to do the same instead of imposing and coercing them to follow Buddhism. Akbar wanted to have religious tolerance, so started Sole Kul, abolished Jizya, recruited many Hindu ministers in Darbar, married Hindu women. Then you have Abraham Lincoln, fought passionately for the rights of blacks, abolished slavery. He ensured it was done with minimum loss of life. Nelson Mandela was jailed for 27 years, followed Mahatma Gandhi's teaching of non-violence, and even though he was jailed for 27 years, he maintained a peaceful struggle against apartheid. So, if a country is to be corruption free and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel there are three key societal members: father, mother, and teacher, who can make a difference. So, yes, parents are the first agency of socialization for a child, and children adopt parents as personal role models. And great achievers comes from good families. Obviously, exceptions are there. And school is the foremost place after home, and the teachers will come here. So, to aid in intellectual growth of the child, supports his aspirations. So values, all the values of the parents that indirectly comes in the children, such as courage, hard work, leadership, discipline, perseverance from his father. Now child tries to imitate the father a lot. Hence, if the father gives bribes or father smokes or father is promiscuous, child will also tend to think these are normal things, and they also can use bribery, smoking, and being promiscuous. On the other hand, when a father displays traits such as honesty, child picks up the very same value. Now, the mother is our first and last guru. Basically, there is no one above mother. So, child learns love, affection, empathy, sacrifice from his mother. She has to create a blissful, cheerful, and balanced atmosphere in the life of the child, which will help in social and moral development. And she can also help develop values such as emotional intelligence, respect for women, tolerance, gender equality, which helps the child to deal with patriarchy and grow up as a sensitive human. Then in teacher like Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, Tagore, they spoke of impact of education on moral values, character of a child, and Sanskrit words Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu. So aptly it says that basically Guru is everything. And Guru Govindo Khade Kake Lagu Paye. So that also basically compares Guru with the God. And famous teachers like Chanakya, Bhishma, Parshuram, they have greatly contributed in shaping the skills of their pupils. So thank you for watching this lesson. Hey guys, what's up? So let us continue our discussion, and we'll discuss question number 6 to 7 in this particular lesson. So let's get started. Question number 6a. How will you apply emotional intelligence in administrative practices? So basically, always they will ask you these questions. You just need to remember the definition of EQ, its applications, and then like fit it on the case by case basis, whatever the examiner is trying to discuss. So emotional intelligence is basically the ability to perceive and regulate emotions, not only in ourselves but in others as well. And you can call it a unique intersection of head and heart. And it was used in administration and politics as early as 2300 years ago by Aristotle. Now, as bureaucracy is moving away from impersonality and dehumanization towards much more like customer service, again emotional intelligence has gained a lot of prominence. Some applications of this will include, like, it will help to enhance leadership skills, as you can understand what motivates others and what makes others tick. Then it will also help to achieve amicable work environment, ability to handle difficult people, aware but not involved in office politics, because there is a lot of politics which goes on in office. Trust me, whether you are in government, whether you are a doctor, whether you work in private sector, there is a lot of office politics that goes along. Then bureaucrat has to communicate a lot with these days with media, NGOs, employees, citizens, businessmen, politicians, etc. So social skills, emotional intelligence, they become of utmost importance here. A very big important thing you have to remember. Now it will also help the administrator to handle the stress and conflict at work, because this is going to be a very stressful job unless you like choose for not so important postings, then that is a different issue altogether. Now you have to bounce back from setbacks. You have to handle a lot of negative feelings. You should not be very prone to aggression, otherwise it can create issues with your job because people provoke you all the time, and you have to avoid mood swings at all cost. Now it also helps to understand others' emotions, which can help him to negotiate better with a trade partner and understand if it is the right time to ask for a favor or not. Now emotional intelligence in administration can help to build trust, facilitate creative expression, etc. So these points are also very important. Now emotional intelligence can help you provide vital information and feedback from your peers, from your superiors, from your juniors when it comes to the governance. Now the most common example is that of an angry mob protesting for justice. In such situation, like, you need to be having a very peculiar emotional intelligence, and you must be able to get hold of public emotions and pacify them with the words rather than being completely indifferent to them. So that is why emotional intelligence comes handy. Question number 6b, strength and peace and security are considered to be the pillars of international relations. Elucidate. So basically, if you want to have successful IR, then you have to rely on three, like strength, peace and security. You should always talk about your strength. You should always play from the position of strength. You should always talk about peace, and you should always talk about security. Now if there is any defect in one of these pillars, it can make the entire structure shaky, goes without saying. Now the idea is a culmination of both the theories of realism, that power grows from a barrel of a gun, to idealism, like focus on global good. There should be a mix of both, and they need to form the integral part of international ethics. Now strength is basically, let's say Iraq is under rule of Saddam Hussein. They possessed great military and economic strength, but they lacked a peaceful approach. So they lost their relevance in international arena. Nobody likes a war prone country. And similarly, despite being the most powerful country, US has come under a lot of criticism for its peace disrupting approaches in Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, etc. Let us talk about peace. So Bhutan is a very peaceful country. They talk about gross happiness index, and they do not focus much on army or economic growth, and thus it has to depend upon assistance from India for security of its nation, as you can see in the recent Doklam standoff. So you need to have basically strength, peace oriented approach, as well as security. So Japan is very economically prosper. They advocate peace post World War by not developing offensive capability of its army, and it is highly dependent on the US and NATO for security from hostile neighbors, and thereby it jeopardize its say in the international arena. So while India is the largest contributor to UNPF, that is United Nations Peacekeeping Force, at the same time we are also rapidly modernizing our army. We are upgrading our nuclear capabilities and aiming for high economic growth. So we focus on all the three pillars of international relations. So thus equal force should be given on developing strength, peace and security, because it is required to ensure greater good, upholding of international ethics, as well as fulfillment of national interests. Question number 7a. The crisis of ethical values in modern times is traced to a narrow perspective of the good life. Discuss. So yes, this is absolutely correct, where people have a very narrow perspective of what is a good life, and they follow an individualistic, materialistic approach to life. And Gandhiji has said that we must reduce our wants and learn to live a very simple life. And he also propagated that good of one is in good of all through his ideas of Sarvodaya, etc. But people are like very individualistic these days, and materialistic world urges us to buy the best phones, trendiest clothes, bigger and better things. But they don't realize that no matter how many possessions you have, no matter how many purchases you do, it cannot buy you happiness. So while we are being pushed towards the materialism, it is for the monetary gain by corporations and not for our happiness. So just remember, consumerism basically means they just want you to buy stuff, and it is very hard to escape the trap of materialism and find happiness in other ways just than buying stuff online or finding joy in the mall. Now, Bhagavad Gita also stress on this weakness of human nature, which ignores the higher purusharth of dharma and moksha, largely due to craving for calm and earth. Now, Jainism and Buddhism are also similar religion which proposes certain tenets to live a happy and blissful life. Charvak theory was one of the most criticized school of Indian philosophy, as it advocated hedonism, that is pure pleasure and materialism. वो बोलते थे उधार लेके भी अगर घी खाना है तो खाओ. It denied dharma and moksha supreme ends. It advocated the use of earth to get calm. So use wealth to get pleasure. And now instead of thinking about that iPad, think of your last amazing vacation. chances are like your vacation will make you feel warm and fuzzy when that iPad makes you feel nothing at all. So reason is that we tend to value experiences over objects, to try to spend on experiences and not just on objects. And environmental degradation, loss of wildlife, global warming, etc. They get apathy of most of us because we fail to expand our perception of good life and stretch limits of good life to include the joy of clean environment, compassion for animals, sense of responsibility of protecting our planet. And we have to broaden our perception of a good life by make a list of small things that you give great pleasure and try to do them throughout your day. Plant trees, spend time with family, practice random acts of kindness, make someone smile, exercise, stay healthy, etc. Question number 7b. Increased national wealth did not result in equitable distribution of its benefits. It has created only some enclaves of modernity and prosperity for a small minority at the cost of majority. Yes, it is. This problem is there worldwide. Like 2% of Indians own 80% of the wealth, something like that. So Article 38 says that we have to eliminate inequalities in status. And today India is one of the fastest growing economy, but the growth of benefits have largely confined it to few. So here you can see that 1% Indians own 58% of the wealth. We have one of the largest number of poor in the entire world. And regional imbalance is also there in India. Northeast, Jammu and Kashmir and resource-rich states remain underdeveloped, while few facilities are concentrated in, let's say, 10-20 cities. That's all. Corporate exploitation is well known. Profiteering is done at the cost of quality. Compromise on labor welfare, environmental sustainability, evading taxes as much as possible. Then there is rural-urban divide, distress migration, slums and cities. Largest slum in Asia is in Mumbai, that is Dharavi. So measures introduced, like basically theory of trusteeship by Gandhiji, and he said that all the property belong to God and rich is only trustee of wealth and must use it to help the poor. And he said that even exploitation is a form of violence. Then inclusive growth and rights based approach, so involve all the section of people in decision making and planning. Okay. CSR activities, corporate social responsibility, you have to mandatorily spend a percentage of your profit if it exceeds. Many companies like Tata Infosys are partnering with government and NGOs in implementing social programs. And rationalize the tax structure, so give high tax rate for the rich and corporates and exclude the poor from taxation system or have low taxes for them. So thank you for watching this lesson. Hey guys, what's up? So we'll discuss question number 8 and 9 in this particular lesson, and we have already covered the first 7 questions in GS paper 4, that is ethics, integrity and aptitude, and this is the year 2017. So let's get started. Question number 8a. Discipline generally implies following the order and subordination. Okay. However, it may be counterproductive for the organization. Discuss. Now, this is a very typical question in UPSC, and if you are working in any organization whatsoever, you will face certain issues like this. Okay. So, if it is an army, etc., then definitely it is there. So, discipline means absolute obedience to commands of a superior authority. So if in an organization like army, even in hospitals, you will see people for like absolutely following what their seniors are telling them. So it manifests in the form of a chain of a command or hierarchy. Now many administrative thinkers like Max Weber, Henry Fayol, they have emphasized on the importance of discipline and principle of subordination in an organization. Now it is the thread with which different parts of the organization are sewn, and they help in the integration within an organizational structure. So that is there. Now, discipline also acts as an instrument of communication and coordination and help in collecting the ideas, dispersing information, and obviously it brings a lot of clarity. Otherwise, without discipline, nobody knows who is supposed to follow whose order, and it brings clarity in definition of various positions, responsibilities of each post in the organization. It also enables delegation, decentralization. It prevents the congestion at the top, and it protects the top level officials from doing stupid, mundane like jobs which are not required. However, in some cases, strict adherence to discipline can be very, very counterproductive. Let me tell you some things. So in a situation like natural disaster, tsunami, fire accidents, bomb blast, if you wait for the orders from the superior because you are disciplined, so it can cause delay, it can lead to loss of hundreds of lives. Okay, so here you need to innovate and quick decision making is required even if you are going past your subordinates, superiors. Now, right adherence to hierarchy always leads to suspicion. It does not develop mutual trust, because the superior doesn't trust the subordinate enough to make his own decisions. So sometimes if you take your own decisions, then superior can delegate you a lot more. Then authority and privileges are unequally distributed in a hierarchical pattern, and interpersonal relationship is conditioned by this inequality. Now it also discourages lower level initiative and innovation, as opinion of the superior always prevails over the subordinate, and blindly following orders is suitable in a centralized system like under Hitler rather than a democratically decentralized ones. So opinions of subordinates always should be taken into consideration, as they are aware of the local level conditions, they know it much better than you. This can be achieved by installing suggestion box, incentive structure, giving greater opportunities to participate in decision making, etc. 8th B, without commonly shared and widely entrenched moral values and obligation, neither the law nor democratic government nor even the market economy will function properly. What do you understand by this statement, and explain with illustration in the contemporary times? So Gandhiji basically had said, as human beings, our greatness lies not in being able to remake the world, but in able to remake ourselves. Okay. So basically what they are trying to say here is like you need to have moral values and obligations, and that is more important than anything else. So for example, you tell about the laws, everything is there. Okay. There are many laws and agencies to deal with corruption in India, yet India has been unable to curb this menace, because corruption is a very important manifestation of failure of ethics. No matter how many laws you make, if everyone is corrupt, everyone will be corrupt. And it is very unfortunate that corruption has become a matter of habit, and conscience, moral values, they are the first line of defense, and laws are only remedial in nature. So unless people answer to their own conscience and shun corruption, it will continue to deepen in India. Second point, let's talk about democratic values like liberty, freedom of speech, expression, equality, justice, prohibition of child labor already have been mentioned. There are so many democratic institutions like public service commissions, CAG, election commission, but citizens and government have not internalized it. And as you can see, a lot of incidents, censoring of movies, mob lynching, lynching of rationalists, use of money power in state elections, spoil system as seen in TNPSC appointment, show the anti-democratic values. Now let's talk about market. So since 1991, there have been a lot of new economic reforms that has brought greater role for the market, but business ethics are not there in the industry leaders. Lot of crony capitalism, nexus between capitalists, politicians, bureaucrats happen. It can be seen in 2G spectrum scam, coal block, Sahara scam, Satyam scam, and very few companies voluntarily indulge in CSR activities, but now it is a law. So external tools, you can control the behavior, but they are only best done when they are supplemented with ethical and moral change in the society, and no supervision from the above can be as effective as automatic control of minds. Question number 9. You are an honest, responsible civil servant. You often observe the following: that there is a general perception that adhering to ethical conduct, one may face difficulties to oneself and cause problems for the family, whereas unfair practices may help to reach the career goals. When the number of people adopting unfair means is large, a small minority having a penchant towards ethical means makes no difference at all. Sticking to ethical means is detrimental to the larger development goals. While one may not involve oneself in the large unethical practices, but giving and accepting small gifts makes the system more efficient. So explain the above statements with their merits and demerits. So let's talk about the first statement. By adhering to ethical principles, one may face difficulties to oneself and cause problems for the family. Yes, this can happen. For example, IAS officer Ashok Khemka, he has been in service for 20-25 years but transferred 40-45-50 times. Every 6 to 8 months he faced a transfer. It obviously caused inconvenience to his family. He was also given undesirable posting where he could not maximize his potential. But despite difficulties, like it cannot be an excuse, we must do our duties ethically. Like Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita that if you have to do the duty, and if at the time of crisis you go away from dharma, it is a very bad example. If you just have integrity, it is considered morally uplifting. It boosts dignity, self-respect, and he becomes role models for our own family and the society. And he is also entrusted with leadership opportunities, and as Gandhiji had said, we can shake the world even in a gentle way. Now, such person loses fear and anxiety of law enforcement agency. He doesn't have to cover up. In case of arrest for unethical act, there is a huge embarrassment, loss of dignity of ourself, family. Example, a recent case of a lot of family of civil servants, they committed suicide when caught in a corruption case. So everything you gather, they go to waste. And when the number of people adopting unfair means is large, a small minority having a penchant towards ethical means makes no difference. But Gandhiji said that be the change you want to see in the world, and Gandhiji's non-violent means shaped the whole freedom struggle. Now Vinod Rai sir, he was an IAS officer, okay, and he revolutionized the office of CAG. TN Session did it for election commission. Committed bureaucrats, politicians can single-handedly create change in the system. It just takes one person to start the revolution. Okay, Ikla Chalo Re, you must have heard, like you can like go single and you can't be along with the majority, and even a minority of righteous and upright can use moral persuasion as a tool to change the attitude of mass. Okay, the minority of truth is always stronger than majority of falsehood. And Gandhiji's non-violent means shaped the whole freedom struggle of the country, and it proved to be the most potent tool against the colonial powers. Now, small minority can also act as pressure group and use social influence to change attitudes of others. For example, Chipko movement, Kodamshri movement in Kerala to empower women, but now it covers 80% of the households in Kerala. Then developmental activities may seem to get delayed by sticking to ethical means. But in short run you might get it, but in long run sustainable development can only happen when there is ethical conduct. President Rajendra Prasad had said that attaining our ideals, our means should be as pure as the end itself. And finally, like construction of dam at the cost of displacement of millions in Odisha, it would have like obviously left deep resentment in the hearts of the people. So developmental goals should be in line with the local people. And Kautilya had said that just as it is not possible not to taste honey or poison placed on the surface of the tongue, and even so it's not possible of one dealing with money not to taste money in however small quantity. Okay, so just remember this point. Temptations are a lot of them, but it is your restraint that determine your integrity. And giving and accepting small gifts will put you in a position of obligation and develops a sense of indebtedness, desire to pay back. And by indulging in small acts of corruption, you will also like you lose your authority to stop the acts of corruption. And we must never put ourselves in any position whatsoever that may arouse suspicion of dishonesty. And integrity is absolute, it is non-selective and non-negotiable. So thank you for watching this lesson. Hey guys, what's up? So let us discuss question number 10 and 11 model answers for UPSC CSE mains GS paper 4, and let's get started. So question number 10, you are aspiring to become an IAS officer and you have cleared various stages, and now you have been selected for the personal interview. On the day of the interview, on the way to the venue, you saw an accident where a mother and child who happened to be your relatives were badly injured. They needed immediate help. What would you have done in such a situation? Justify your action. दिस इज़ द टिपिकल क्वेश्चन ऑफ यूपीएससी. मतलब रियलिटी में लोग कुछ और करेंगे, लिखना कुछ और पड़ेगा. बट एनीवे, so road accident reports in India 2016 revealed that over 5 lakh accident occurred and they killed over 1.5 lakh people and left around 5 lakh people badly injured. Obviously, our constitution, we have a fundamental duty of promoting brotherhood, a sense of which can be realized while helping an accident victim. And there are a lot of ethical issues here: personal interest of attending interview versus social responsibility, being a good Samaritan versus fear of harassment by the police. The fear of harassment is no longer there. I have seen a lot of my friends who helped these persons and nothing happened to them. Responsibility as a civil service aspirant. So a lot of options. Leave that place and head towards interview. So following Ayn Rand's theory of ethical egoism, which calls for rational selfishness, pursuing one's own interest is not evil at all. Humans must not be treated as sacrificial lambs, and this option will help me realize my dreams for which I have been working so hard. And I may be selected to the civil services. It will enhance my social prestige and my relatives may forgive me later, and I don't have to worry about delays due to harassment by police too. Demerit is running from this situation can also show cowardice, your selfishness, lack of empathy, abdication of responsibility, and it means putting selfish needs above others' life. It will also prick my conscience and constantly keep me worried during the interview, and I might not get good marks. Second is stay back and help the victims. And Bhagavad Gita preaches Swadharma, that is doing one's own duty for the sake of well-being of society. So obviously I'll act according to my conscience and values. I am aware of how government is encouraging good Samaritans through various programs, legislation, and it will give me a chance to be a role model and be part of this social change. And it will also help me earn a good name in the family. But the demerit is I may miss the interview and I lose the chance of serving the society, and I can get a loss of a year of hard work. So the following course of action will be followed by me in this case. If any of my family members are with me, they can attend to the victims while I head for the interview. Usually, this when I was going to the interview, I also had my papa and mummy, and similarly, usually people come with their parents. So one of them can accompany the relatives. Secondly, if my family members aren't there with me, check for injuries, quickly administer first aid to the victims, call the ambulance, call the family of my relatives, inform them about the accident. Now this is the thing which you should follow, okay? Not the first or the second option. Call NGOs like Save Life Foundation to seek their assistance. Leave for interview when the help arrives. After interview, always call and check upon my relatives. And just in case I reach late for the interview, explain UPSC the reason for my delay happened and seek the postponement. and if request is not processed, deal with this career setback in an optimistic way and work harder again for next year. So civil services is a means and not an end, and interview was a stage to achieve the means to attain the goal of public service, and basically saving one life is the attainment of the goal itself. So that is how you have to answer this question. Then you have question number 11. Basically, this is again a very good case study. You are the head of HR department of an organization. One day one of the worker died on duty. His family was demanding compensation, but company denied compensation because it was revealed in investigation that he was drunk at the time of accident. Workers of the company went on to strike, demanding compensation for the family of the deceased. Chairman of the management board had asked for a recommendation. What recommendation would he provide the management? Discuss the merits and demerits of each of the recommendations. So first of all, whenever such ethical case studies come, try to write the stakeholders' names. So stakeholders involved here are company and management board, family of deceased employee, worker union, me, because you are the HR manager. Then there are a lot of ethical issues involved here, like worker safety at the workplace, feeling of injustice among the workers, financial constraints of the company, fixing accountability for drunken worker getting inside the workplace. And obviously if you don't give them the compensation, and then the workers will definitely do a huge strike against you. So that is there, and loyalty of the workers to the organization may also shift. Try to advise management to not pay any compensation. This is your first step, let's say. So this will serve as a good lesson to the workers not to be drunk and careless on the premises, and it will also set a firm tone that blackmailing won't be tolerated in the organization. But obviously workers union will not like it. Their brother has died and now you're not even paying them, their family, to sustain themselves. They will come on road, and this may strike the damaged company reputation in the media, and we may lose our goodwill and loyal customers. So I will not recommend this step at all. It will also create a negative work atmosphere. Workers feel that management does not care for them at all, and the family of the deceased worker may be pushed into poverty as their sole breadwinner is no more. Second point is advise the management to give the compensation. Now this advice will be met with some resistance by the board because it will cause a lot of financial strains on the company resources. It can even set a very bad precedent for such unreasonable demand by the workers in the future, and it may portray that company there does not have a spine and it is at the mercy of the workers. But this will also increase loyalty and motivation of the workers. So second option is better than the first option in my opinion, and the family of the deceased worker may also be able to sustain until they find a job. It creates a sense of security among the workers that management do care about them and they will protect them, and following a humane approach rather than treating workers just as cogs in the machine. It also diminishes the risk of a strike and lockout. Third point is provide partly compensation as an immediate step. So keeping the complete background aside, complete investigation, this is also the best option. Worker, irrespective that the worker was drunk at the time of accident or not, you can give part relief to support the family and end the strike, assuring the workers that the detailed investigation will be through identifying the stress level and the nature of the work. And obviously it will provide more time for the company to access the financial background of the worker, if there was a stress at the job or not, common habits of the workers related to the position. But it can also be seen as delaying tactic of management, and it can leave behind a lot of unsatisfied workers and chances of future strike. So depends on you or me. Second and third option are there, but assume that if you give first or third option and the people strike, it can lead to loss of lakhs and crores of rupees, but the compensation was merely like 3-4 lakhs. Also it will help the family a lot, and they will praise you and the workers will praise you. So I would have chosen the option 2. And according to Article 43 of DPSP, workers must actively participate in the management of organization. And Gandhiji also said that corporate are trustees of workers. So workers form an integral part of the organization, and their grievance should be given utmost priority. Now the decision that company takes must be in the spirit of the constitution and the philosophy of Gandhiji. And additional measures there, that strict warning to employees to avoid like drinking at work, sorry for this, and gate check for alcohol consumption, random check at workplace, ethical training of workers, safety audit, whether the company is safe or not, improvement in worker management relations through dialogues and events like social gathering, and try to give employment to a member of deceased worker's family if possible. So thank you for watching this lesson. Hey guys, what's up? So let us discuss the GS paper 4 continuation, and we'll deal with question number 12 and question number 13 in this. And it's very, very important. It is very, very pertinent that you remember these points because it will go a long way. Question number 12. You are the manager of a spare parts company A and you have to negotiate a deal with the manager of a large manufacturing company B. The deal is highly competitive. Her question पढ़ने में ही नींद आ जाएगी. And sealing the deal is critical for your company. The deal is being worked out over a dinner. After dinner, the manager of manufacturing company B offered to drop you at the hotel in his car. And on the way to hotel, he happens to hit motorcycle, injuring the motorcyclist badly. You know the manager was driving fast, thus lost control. The law enforcement officer comes to investigate the issue and you are the sole eyewitness to it. Knowing the strict laws pertaining to road accidents, you are aware that your honest account of the incident would lead to the prosecution of the manager, and as a consequence, the deal is likely to be jeopardized, which is of immense importance to your company. What are the dilemmas you face? What will be your response to the situation? Obviously, you have to report it, goes without saying, okay? Stakeholders in this case, first of all, whenever they talk about ethical case studies, always identify like accident victim is there, you as a representative of company A, manager of company B. So, and society at large is also a stakeholder. So some ethical dilemmas that arise includes professional responsibility versus social responsibility. So as a professional responsibility, you should not do it, but as a social responsibility, you have to do it. Then career growth versus integrity and internal satisfaction. So that is the second point. Third point is like profitability of your company. That is also very important versus justice to the accident victim. Fourth is organization loyalty versus loyalty to truth. And finally, bowing down to pressure of the organization versus displaying courage of conviction. So these are some of the ethical dilemmas you are facing, but there are many more, but you have less time in the answer exam hall, so you write this and it will be more than enough. Now options available to me at this point is speak in support of manager of the company B by not disclosing his mistake. If you take this option, then you are gone. You will get 0 marks in the entire ethics paper. Merit is it will help you to gain trust and favor of the manager of company B, and he may grant my company the contract. Obviously, this will improve my credibility in the organization and I may be promoted. Demerit of this act is acting against my conscience and abdicating my legal responsibility as a citizen to provide justice to an accident victim. And if the officer investigates any CCTV in nearby location and it is disclosed that I lied, I may have to face a jail term. And also suppressing conscience and inner voice with this time will result into lesser guilt feeling in next such similar event. So overall system will get polluted, corrupt, etc. So obviously it does not make sense to go with this option. Then cooperate with law enforcement officer and disclose the truth. So obviously you have to go with this option. So Gandhiji said that there is no God higher than the truth, and you have to act ethically and in an honest manner. Nishkam karm, that is act of doing duty without expecting any reward for self, and it should be performed in natural way like the flower which give fragrance without asking for rewards and selfish motives. So just like flower will do it, you have to also do it. Demerit is that you might lose contract, you might act against the interest of the company which can cost you the job or promotion. That is also against the value of professionalism, as the company may incur losses, it may even shut down. But I will choose to go with option 2 by following the golden rule of ethics. We must do to others what we would want others to do to us. So this is a very, very important definition of ethics. We must do to others what we would want others to do to us. So tomorrow my family could be there. It can be your son, it can be your wife, it can be your mom, it can be your dad. So it is in my own interest to cooperate with the authority, because at society at large, if you believe in the theory of karma, it will come back to you. Gandhiji had said, even if you are in minority of the one, the truth is truth. And I may face criticism from the company superiors, but I can persuade them to agree to my decision. And if there is any negative externalities, if they ask me to resign, then I will resign. And as I also failed to stop the manager from crossing the speed limit, so you are also to blame partly. Okay, so that was a detailed case study. Now let us talk about question number 13. A building permitted for 3 floors while being extended illegally to 6 floors by a builder collapses. Okay, it is a huge dilemma. As a consequence, a number of innocent laborers, including women and children, died. Nothing can be sadder than this. These laborers are migrants of different places. The government immediately announced cash relief to the aggrieved families and arrested the builder. Now, why do you think such incidents happens all over the place in the country? You might have seen every 1 month there is a building collapse, right? To suggest the measures to prevent their occurrence. So here there are a lot of stakeholders which are involved. So it includes builders, it includes laborers, it includes government officials. It includes a lot of ethical issues here, like public interest versus private interest is there, so that is definitely there. Then inefficiency of government to protect interest and secure safety of workers at the workplace. Now compensatory attitude of the government कि भाई हो गया तो अब ठीक है उनको पैसे दे दो और रफा दफा करो. So obviously huge like there is issues with the government as well. Now why do you think such incidents take place across the country? Because of the administrative reasons. So lack of spirit of public service. लोगों को अपना काम काटना है और आगे बढ़ना है. Officials have not checked the breach of building bylaws. They are hand in gloves. Basically, they are involved. They are doing collusion with the builders by taking bribes in terms of lakhs and crores of rupees. They allow illegal construction. The municipal bodies basically lack funds and functionaries to take stringent action against such illegal construction taking place in the city. And lack of accountability is also there, as lot of agencies are involved. So you cannot pinpoint that this is the issue of municipality or this is of state government, etc. Now there are a lot of ethical issues like lack of professional ethics. Engineers have completely abdicated their responsibility and they choose to make quick money at the cost of human lives. Now builders are exploiting the laborers by not treating them with dignity. And as you can see, if you read this point here, laborers are migrants of different places, etc. And their like deaths are happening. So obviously nobody is treating them with dignity. And monetary concerns like overpower conscience and morality, and you focus on the end rather than the means. Legal issues like slow judicial process encourage illegal construction, lack of respect for laws by flagrant violation of it, building laws are violated often. Now in economical, there is rapid urbanization, crony capitalism, unholy nexus between builders, politicians, bureaucrats. There is a lot of collusive corruption, etc. Now in social, there is lack of media focus on these issues. Now citizens do not participate. There is hardly any activism from the citizen side. They don't report against illegal construction. Laborers are working without any social security. They are being exploited by the builders like anything, and laborers are unaware of their even constitutional rights. So how they can seek justice? Now how you can prevent them? Encourage civil society participation to use RTI, social media to report illegal construction, cases of corruption, strict regulation of real estate sector by using laws, proper accountability, have a single nodal agencies to fix the responsibility at a particular point, conduct mandatory audits to check the implementation of bylaws, use ICT, satellite imagery, CCTV cameras to see how the construction activities are going on in the city, and enable the mobility of social security like health insurance, PDS to laborers irrespective of location of work, and educate them about their rights. So thank you. Hey guys, what's up? So this is the last case study, last question of the ethics paper. Total, if you include all the subparts and parts, there were about 19 questions, and this case study is the longest by the number of words. And this is the last question, so we'll discuss this in detail, and I will try to identify how to write this, how to write a good answer so that you can get a lot of marks. This is GS paper 2017 and case study number 14. Obviously answers can vary from person to person, goes without saying. I am not the final authority on ethics, nobody is, and but the answers can be very, very standardized, because most of the people who feel if they start to write that in ethics paper, then I think half of them will not able to qualify. So majority of the students, they lie on the ethics paper, but unfortunately UPSC also knows it, right? Like there is no way that people will write the honest truth here. But anyway, so let's continue. Question number 14 says that you are a public information officer in a government department. Yes, this is correct. Okay, you are aware that the RTI Act 2005 envisages transparency and accountability in administration. Yes, 100% I know. The act has functioned as a check on the supposedly arbitrary administrative behavior and actions. Yes, to a certain extent you can say it. However, as a PIO, you have observed that there are citizens who have filed RTI applications not for themselves, but on behalf of such stakeholders who want to have access to information to further their own interest. Okay, At the same time, there are those RTI activists who routinely file RTI applications and attempt to extort money from the decision makers. This type of RTI activism basically has affected the functioning of the administrative adversely and also possibly jeopardized the genuineness of the application, which basically technically aims at getting justice. So those people who genuinely files it, even they get lost. So what are the measures would you suggest to separate genuine and non-genuine applications, and try to give merits and demerits of your suggestions? So I hope the situation is very clear. So they are saying there are two types of people: one who genuinely files it, others those who are bogus filers. Now even in them, they want to like extort, or they want to have information which can help in their business, etc. How do you differentiate these genuine applications from non-genuine applications, and try to give merits and demerits of your suggestions? So this is the entire questions. Now since it is the biggest, so let's talk about RTI Act 2005. A basic information will help. So it was a watershed legislation, na bhuto na bhavishyanti. Second, Administrative Reform Commission says that RTI is the bedrock of democracy. It can pave way for transparency, openness, accountability in government. It can ensure participation of people in democratic society. Now, as a party to the United Nations, India has an international obligation to guarantee right to information. But as mentioned in the above case and also said by the former Chief Information Commissioner Shailesh Gandhi, nearly 5% of the applications are technically used for blackmailing people, harass the public officials to get undue favors. So obviously they have to be stopped at any cost, otherwise officials will stop taking decision. It will lead to policy paralysis, as it is already happening. So ethical issues here involved includes public interest of justice versus private interest, power without responsibility. So that is considered the biggest sin ever. So if you give somebody power, you have to give them responsibility. But here citizens are given power under RTI, but they lack the awareness to use it responsibly, and fear among honest bureaucrats that they may be harassed by fraudulent RTI activists. So even these honest bureaucrats, they will stop taking any decisions whatsoever. There will be a limbo, there will be a complete policy paralysis, and it will not be good for the health of the nation and for the wealth of the nation, that is the economic growth. Now measures to separate genuine from non-genuine applications. Obviously, like you will have to like devise a lot of measures. So you can increase the fee for applications. What is the merit of this point? So frivolous applications can reduce to certain extent, but this is not for sure. But now see the demerit. Poor and needy applicants may find it difficult to afford anti-democratic, because already people, like even in AIMS OPD, they used to pay 10 rupees to like get themselves checked. If you increase it to 100 rupees, then obviously bogus patients will not come. But even the real patients who are in need but cannot afford 100 rupees, even they will not come. So that will be really bad. Second is stating the purpose for seeking information through the Right to Information Act. Here the merit is a clearly mentioned purpose can help in segregating, and it will also deter the frivolous applications. So that is the merit. Demerit is basically it can harm well-intentioned applications, as they will come under pressure to disclose the purpose. So even these people will find it very difficult that they should not apply for RTI, because they will have to like state the purpose. So person who verifies the purpose of application, he may display subjective bias. So even everything has pros and cons in life. Third point is sending proposal to higher official to amend RTI Act to ensure stringent punishment for misuse. So this is one positive point. Okay, this is 100% I'll agree. So it will make available a legal recourse to punish frivolous, mala fide applications. Mala means bad, bona means good, fide means intention. So mala fide means in good faith, bad faith, and bona fide means in good faith. So if you are a mala fide application, that is these applications are filed in bad faith, so that will not be entertained, they will be punished. It will also give teeth to the PIO rather than just become a helpless spectator. Now when I talk about demerit, so demerit is only one that changes in legislation is a very long, lengthy, cumbersome process, and it may not be feasible as a short-term solution. Now point 4 is marking those individuals sending repeated application. So yes, this is also a very good point. So a rational segregation has to be done of those who send repeated applications to a particular department, and it could reveal a pattern of non-genuine applicants, and it can facilitate better decision taking. So point 3 and point 4 are very good points. They have 99% pros. Demerit is obviously some genuine seekers who file, let's say, an RTI a day, so they might be like negatively marked, but that is okay. That much collateral damage will happen in anything you do in life. Now, fifth point is voluntary disclosure of information by government agencies. So here you will not need to file RTI in this case. It has been mentioned in the second ARC. It will reduce RTI applications as all the information will be voluntarily disclosed. Now there is a huge demerit point to this, that national security concerns are there. Colonial attitude of secrecy among the bureaucrats is there. It makes voluntary disclosure very, very difficult. Now solution is that you can adopt option 4 and 5, as it will bring about attitude change in both the citizens and administration. And success of RTI basically depends upon people's understanding of its real worth, as well as if you can proactively disclose the information by the administration, it will be like really, really good. Now let us see the step number 6, voluntary disclosure of information by government agencies. Merit, again, it has been mentioned in second ARC. Okay, and I think like they have repeated the same point. So basically these points, if you follow them properly, it will go a long way, and it will really, really help you as a PIO to separate genuine and non-genuine applicants. So I hope you like this entire solution of 2017 paper. Thank you.